What's up, everyone? Welcome to Level 7. It is time for another episode of the Agents of Fandom podcast. I'm your host, TJ Zwarych. Finally aboard the Ironclad, ready to set sail across the sea of monsters, talking some Percy Jackson today, and joined by a wonderful group of people. First up, you know him if you've been hanging out for our Percy Jackson shows. We got Brandon Moore. How you doing, Brandon?
Hey, everybody. I'm doing great. I'm very excited to talk about this episode, and I can't wait to see what you guys think of it.
Agreed, 100%. Joining us as well, we got our guy Jam on location today. We'll say on location. How you doing, my guy?
I'm doing well, bro. Thank you for asking. I am also ready to talk about Percy Jackson and hear some thoughts, man. And yes, I am on location.
If you are watching us on video, you know that our next guest is not Daredevil, because it's Emma Dorris. How you doing, Emma? Welcome back to the show.
I'm good. I'm so happy to be back. I always love being able to come back on and talk about the things that I love, and I'm so excited to talk about this episode. And no, I'm not Daredevil, but I will be excited to talk about Daredevil when that comes out as well.
You're always excited to talk about Daredevil.
That is true. Yeah, that is very true.
There are a couple specific shows we make sure to always bring you back for. Percy Jackson and Daredevil are two of those shows. If we ever do something Love Island related again, you know that'll be one of them as well.
That's my track.
We are here to talk about some Percy Jackson today, but before we get into it, I want to remind everyone to make sure you're subscribed to the Agents of Fandom on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a nice little 5-star rating and review. Follow us on socials at Agents Fandom on TikTok and Twitter, Agents of Fandom everywhere else. And if you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit that like button. Helps us battle that YouTube algorithm, get noticed, keep the lights on over here, build this community. And we got some fun stuff coming up. And it's why you want to make sure you're hitting that notification bell. Already streaming up on YouTube and our social page, up on the Agents of Fandom podcast feed. You can find Ryan Cortero's interviews with James Cameron and Stephen Lang for Avatar, Fire and Ash. We also got some exciting shows coming for Stranger Things. We'll talk a little bit more about that and what you're watching, as well as what else is still coming? Wonder Man is in January, and we're going to have a really fun draft at the end of the year here for 2025, talking about our favorite projects so far. I guess not so far to conclude the year, because we have actually kind of made it through the entirety of the year. Only a couple days left. But before we talk about Percy Jackson, I want to know what else everyone has been watching. I played out my Christmas Day plans so perfectly. I had my father-in-law's place in the morning. We had a great time. Brought our daughter Natasha home for a little nap. We went to my parents' house in the afternoon, hung out there for a little bit, went straight to Ava, my wonderful partner's aunt's house. We had some dinner there, hung out. But of course, it's Christmas, right? It's family gathering, it's holiday. Ava would love to stay and hang out with her family. We have a baby. She's not even 2 years old. She's in bed. She can't stay up all night. So I get out of there. I take her home. I leave Ava to hang out with the family. I go put the baby to bed, being a great husband, a great dad, taking this on. And I get her to bed, and I got 3 brand new episodes of Stranger Things to crack open all by myself. Get to watch them, no spoilers, and just fully dive in right after release. So I have watched season 5, volume 2 already. And of course, we will talk about that in depth later on next week. Myself, Sean, Caroline, the Stranger Things crew will be back to dive into those episodes. So stay tuned for that next week. Plus, we'll be talking Pluribus, and we'll have our draft. Big week now. Brandon, how about you? What you been watching over the holiday season?
A couple of days ago, I rewatched Hawkeye, which is always a fun rewatch. And every time I watch it, I'm struck by how underrated that show is. and how, in my opinion, I think it's one of the better MCU shows, if not, close to the top. And yeah, other than that, haven't really been watching much except for Percy Jackson.
Emma, how about you? What you been watching?
So I actually just finished the season finale of Heated Rivalry. I have to thank Canada for that show because it is amazing. And I also have to thank our friend CJ who recommended it to me. I binged it's only 6 episodes, but it's amazing. And I think it really highlights the need that people have for like joyful queer shows and media. And I think it's just really nice to have that. So I really enjoyed that. We've also been watching Fallout. The first 2 episodes were really good. And then Percy Jackson, of course. And that's kind of it for TV. I've been watching a lot of movies. I have like a big watch list over my winter break. So yesterday was definitely like a movie day. I did Iron Man 3 because that is a Christmas movie and I am sticking to it. And honestly, it's my favorite Iron Man movie. And it's actually one of my favorite MCU movies. I'm going to just throw that out there. It's really good, and I always forget how good it is until I watch it. So, yeah, that's kind of what I've been watching. Lots of movies.
I am excited for you to see Wonder Man with our guy Trevor Slattery back in action for that one. And the only aspect of Iron Man 3 that is not a Christmas movie is the fact that it released in July. If you completely ignore the theater release and just watch it at home, it is absolutely a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
I just remember being like actively taken aback when watching it in theaters and being like, what the hell is going on? It is not Christmas. Why is this such a big theme of this movie? But Jam, how about you? What you've been watching? I've been taking down some movies as well. We just did the sequel trilogy for Star Wars. That's what we did over Christmas Eve and Christmas when we had some downtime. We watched Force Awakens through Rise of Skywalker as a kind of celebration of it being 10 years since The Force Awakens was released. And I will say regarding the Rise of Skywalker, if you ignore the plot, ignore the entire plot of the movie, it's really enjoyable. It's a really enjoyable movie if you just like kind of forget the whole connectivity to the trilogy and how somehow Palpatine returned out of nowhere. And like, there are actually genuinely so many enjoyable parts of that movie. You just got to kind of not think.
Yeah.
You don't think like, why are they doing this? Why are they doing this? Why? Like, if you kind of just avoid that aspect of it, it's actually has some really, really enjoyable parts in that movie. But Jam, how about you? What you watching?
Yeah, piggybacking off of Brandon last week, I decided to finally tap into the Tomb Raider Legend of Lara Croft Season 2. I finished all of it. It is phenomenal. I loved it. I loved how they focused on like the African gods, like the Oarshu. Like that was just so cool. Because I don't think I've ever seen that in a game from her either. So I thought that was like very different. Currently, I'm watching Task on HBO Max. I was told it's one of the better like television series this year, and I'm very much enjoying that with Mark Ruffalo. Was Christmas for those that celebrate yesterday, as I do. So I watched what I consider one of the best Christmas movies of all time, and that is the live action How the Grinch Stole Christmas with Jim Carrey. I still do not understand how nobody in costume and design won anything for that movie. I still don't understand how Jim Carrey didn't win anything for that movie. It's appalling. It's blasphemous. I don't know. I'm dumbfounded. But that I think is it. I've gotten one episode into the Stranger Things season 5, volume 2 so far. I think from last week, that's it. We had our Avatar Fire and Ash review and breakdown with myself and Damon that dropped this past weekend. So other than that, movies really, I haven't really watched too many movies. I've been really playing a lot of my Switch 2, Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. That's really been my thing. And then the Twitch streamer in me, I've been playing a lot of Arc Raiders just because they put out that new update. And so I'm just trying to get that out there. As well as I actually turned on last night the Avatar the DLC and the new Fire and Ash update. So been pretty much gaming a lot, reading and shows here and there.
I've been doing a fair amount of gaming as well. I've been playing Red Dead Redemption, the first one, since it got added to PS Plus for PlayStation 5. And I've talked a little bit about it on the show, and I was very pleasantly surprised about the graphics. I was very not so enthused about like the movement. Like it's just very PS2. You were going in straight lines. You need to turn. You're turning at a 90-degree angle, and sometimes it's just so hard to like weave yourself into a corner. If there's something you got to grab in a corner, it's like actually difficult to get in there. But it's still a lot of fun. The story's good. I have taken down Bill Williamson and Javier Escuela, and I am on my way to take down the man, Dutch Vanderland. And I haven't done a ton of the side stuff just because the gameplay is a little rough, and I've just been trying to like get through the story as quick as possible, but I still have been enjoying some Red Dead Redemption, and I've been playing a lot of poker in it. Just like when I need to like load up on, I know I gotta have a tough mission coming. I gotta load up on the snake oil and the chewing tobacco so that I have my what's it called? Your dead eye. So I got my dead eye loaded up so I can take down these bad guys. And it's expensive in this game. They're way more expensive than in Red Dead Redemption 2. And so I've been playing a lot of poker while listening to podcasts in that game to just bump up my bankroll a little bit so I can buy the necessary things that I need to do to go on these missions. But overall, having a fun time with that one. Let's start diving into some Percy Jackson, though, because that's what the people are here for. That is the main event. Emma, we've been asking all of our guests on the show so far for their Percy Jackson origin. How many of the books have you read? When did you discover them? What are your thoughts on the very questionable at best movies? Like, what's your history with this franchise?
So I'm kind of a newer fan. I think Brandon just talked it up so much, and I think we kind of just started a conversation about it in our circle, and I was like, I really need to just read these books. And so I read the first book a couple years ago, read the second book. Actually, maybe the first book was like longer than the second book. I think I read a couple years ago. So it's kind of been a little while since I've read Sea of Monsters. But I've considered rereading it, but I was like, you know what? I just want to see if I can remember some of the stuff while I'm watching the season. I haven't read the rest of them yet, so I'm kind of like piecemealing it a little bit. But I just absolutely love it. We did like a group watch of the first movie, which was an experience. After having seen the first season of the show, I was like, yeah, no, like you can just tell the show is a much better adaptation. Like it's miles better. But it was kind of, entertaining to point out like, oh, this is weird. Like they kind of butchered Grover's character completely. And so it was entertaining, but I really love the book so far. Really love the show, and it's just such an enjoyable, I don't know, it's just an enjoyable world. I just love like the demigod stuff. I love Percy and like his representation of like ADHD and stuff like it just really resonates even as an adult. So yeah, I'm all in. I just need to finish the book series at some point.
I don't want to brag about being in Canada more than I have to because
yeah, you don't have to brag that much.
I don't got to rub it in. I know you guys get it, but I will say pretty cool that I can just talk to my doctor and be like, these are the things with my ADHD that are bugging me recently. Like these are the things I'm having some trouble with. And she goes, oh, here, let me refer you to this person. And now for free, I just get to go to an occupational therapist and just talk strategies about how we can, use the ADHD as a superpower as opposed to as a hindrance. So that's pretty cool. That's something brand new for me. I went once and now I got my second appointment next week. I'm pretty excited about that. But let's start talking about episode 4 specifically. Spoiler free, Brandon. I wanted to throw it to you first. You can find your review and recap up on agentsofandom.com. And spoiler alert, tease, you like the episode.
I like the episode a lot. Yeah. This is probably, not even probably, this is my favorite episode of the entire series so far. And I wasn't sure if they were going to be able to clear that bar that they set last week because last week's episode was also very strong. But I think this episode diving into Annabeth's past and because in the books, we get bits and pieces of Annabeth's past, but we only really get whatever she tells Percy because the books are told from Percy's perspective. So we only know what Percy knows. But here we actually get to dive further into what she experienced and how those experiences shaped her worldview, how she views, the idea of failure and messing up, and how she, just how that has affected the way that she looks at everybody, and it's a much more introspective episode than last week's was, and then the last like 15 minutes of this episode just go completely bonkers. But it's such a well done episode. It's so strong, and the cinematography is beautiful, and I'm very pleased with it. And I'm like, if this is what they're giving us halfway through season 2, what are they going to give us in season 3, season 4, season 5? So yeah, I'm very hyped.
I'm with you 100% with the way like viewership and just excitement for this show continues to like just ramp up every week. Maybe it's my social media just hammering the Percy Jackson algorithm down my throat, but it really feels like this show gets bigger and bigger and bigger with every episode that drops, every season that drops. Jam, how about you? What were your thoughts on episode 4, spoiler free?
I really loved it. I think it was also, I'm struggling a little bit to figure out between last episode and this episode which one was my favorite. I think Brandon said it perfectly. We throughout the books, it's all through Percy's perspective. So seeing Annabeth in this new light to me was very refreshing. At the same time, I feel like you got a little bit of both. You kind of also seen her in Percy's perspective in this episode as well. Like, so I love that. You get to kind of get a little bit of both worlds. I think the visuals, it just keeps getting better, man. It just like, I mean, from season 1, then even into the second, like the first episode of this season, and then you keep going. It's like every episode, they're really getting to show like the landscapes that they're on. They're getting to show the colors. They're getting to show, I don't know, it's just, the cinematography, as you said, is just beautiful. This so far has been I want to say this is my favorite episode, but last episode was great too, though. So I'm torn, a little 6-7 action. I'm a little torn between the two here.
Emma, how about you? Episode 4, what'd you think?
I also loved it. I don't echo what everybody else said, but the cinematography has gotten so beautiful. I also really like the fight choreography. That's gotten really good too. It's been really enjoyable to see the young actors kind of like fall more into their roles. I just think, yeah, I thought it was really, really good. And I honestly love I love when book adaptations get a chance to kind of enhance the source material. I'm not like a book purist when I watch things like that. Especially because the authors gotten a chance to really like be involved with the process, and I always appreciate that with book adaptations. And I think all it does is really like when people are like, oh, this wasn't in the book or this went differently. I think it's great to have both because it really just gives a chance to add more. So we're getting more of probably what the author maybe wanted to add at the time, or it's just like, oh, like I have this idea now, let's work this into the show. So I think it's been really great to see kind of how they've changed little things, but have really just enhanced the source material. But yeah, I really loved this episode, and yeah, we'll get into it more, but I loved it.
Diving into spoiler territory now, spoiler warning for season 2, episode 4 of Percy Jackson and the Olympians. Emma, you talked about it there. Brandon, you touched on it as well with some of these flashback sequences. And we talked about it every week with how this season has done such a good job of enhancing the source material by showing different people's perspectives. The book is from Percy's perspective. And so showing other characters as not just from Percy's point of view, but as who they are and their own perspective of their stories has really enhanced it. And I don't think we have seen that as much as we do in this episode with Annabeth, because we get the full-on flashback and we meet Thalia for the first time. We meet Thalia for the first time. We meet young baby Annabeth for the first time. And we meet emo Luke for the first time. This is not regular Luke. This is emo Luke. And I love it. Brandon, what were your thoughts on this flashback sequence where we get so much? We get lore for the story. We get relationship dynamics between Luke and Annabeth, Luke and Thalia, Thalia and Annabeth. It's so much that we get in this episode. in just the first like 10, 15 minutes of it.
Yeah. I really like the fact that they introduced Thalia as like while she's fighting and she's off screen, and Annabeth is there in the sewer and she's being comforted by Luke, and you can really see that sibling bond that they have, where he's really talking to her like an older brother. It's very easy to sort of hate Luke because of what he does, but here you can see that he actually cared about Annabeth, and that I think that makes their dynamic so much more complex, and you can see why Annabeth has such conflicted feelings about him, and why she's been saying to Percy that because Percy's been like, I just want to kill him, I just want to take him out, and Annabeth has been like, no, let's not do that. But so seeing their relationship on screen has been really great. And then of course once Thalia comes in and she is introduced as this very this fierce warrior, and of course she's the daughter of Zeus, who is the most powerful god, and seeing the way that she also cares for Annabeth, and that it's because of Annabeth that she decided to take the group to Camp Half-Blood, because originally she and Luke were very much against going to camp. And so just seeing that and understanding how all of that ties into Annabeth's feelings of guilt and her fears regarding Percy, it's really well done. It's extremely well done, because in the book, and I would have to reread it to make sure, but in the book, I don't think we get all of that. I don't think we truly understand what Annabeth is thinking or feeling, or why she feels this way. And here we actually get this fully well-rounded character, and we get her very early on. It's not until some of the later books that we really start learning about some of the stuff about her past. And I'm really happy that they're choosing to do it this way.
Emma, how about you? What are your thoughts on this flashback sequence where we introduce Thalia, and honestly, she's very much with like the short introduction, kind of like a amalgamation of what if you just combined Percy Jackson, Annabeth, and Clarisse into one person.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I thought it was really cool to finally see Thalia. And I agree with Brandon that I think it's really great, and how they're piecing together Annabeth's backstory now. I think it really enhances like what we're going to see, whatever we're going to see next. I think it really kind of adds that context to her character, and it was just really cool to see the flashbacks. So I was like, wait a second, that's baby Annabeth. Like it was just really cool to see kind of like, I don't know, their relationship dynamics. I think it really does help to kind of give their perspective on her feelings and stuff like that. And Thalia is a badass, so I'm excited to hopefully see more from her. I love flashbacks when they really like do a good job of explaining things that are happening now. I thought it was done really well.
The other thing it really does is just hammer home how much younger Annabeth is than the other two. Like that was a baby. Yeah. That was a little baby. Jam, what stood out to you in the flashback was whether it's Thalia's introduction. I always want to say Thalia. I got Talia Al Ghul on my mind. Thalia's introduction, or baby Annabeth, or is it emo Luke? Is that hair swish over the eyes that I rocked in the 8th grade? Maybe that is the biggest takeaway from the flashback.
Because tonight will be the night that I will fall for you. Hey man, that was honestly hilarious to me. For my anime fans out there, for my anime fans out there, I was like, "Oh, this is Sasuke Uchiha all over again." I'm here for it. Like I loved it. I was there. Yeah, man.
Do you know how long it took me to realize? And as soon as I realized, it pissed me off that I didn't realize it earlier. That Yuri Lowenthal is Sasuke Uchiha. Like. It took me so long to figure out that Spider-Man from the games and Sasuke were the same person, and then I realized, oh, that voice is exactly the same.
Especially when he has the angry voice, when he gets the symbiote.
Yeah, the Venom. When he's got Venom, he's like, that's Sasuke.
Yeah. I really loved, actually, Thalia's costume. like her costume, like the costume design. I thought it was great. I thought that was kind of something that stood out to me. But yes, baby Annabeth, realizing how little she was. I mean, she was about the age of the Stranger Thing kids in season 1. Like I was like, oh, she's so cute. I want to pinch her little cheeks. Like, and then you realize, oh, they're in danger. It's not pinch cheeking time. Like right now, like they're fighting for their lives. So I think that whole scene, like it really just, like Emma said, it really brings kind of the seriousness of the situation together. And I like Emma said, I love flashbacks when they're executed really well. And I think the start of this episode being a flashback, really showing you the stakes, really showing you everything that's going on through Annabeth, and then it goes right into Annabeth, right? Like it goes right into her as an no, I was going to say as an adult, but where they're at currently present. I think that was executed perfectly. It really brings everything to light and how she's feeling. And kind of what Brandon said, it makes me a little bit. I feel like it humanizes Luke a little bit, or not even a little bit, but a lot more. It makes me more empathetic with him than I feel like I am when I read the books.
Agreed, 100%. Especially when you see like from these flashbacks where you kind of always assume when Luke is talking to Annabeth in the present and he's saying like, you didn't know Thalia like I do. Like she would be on my side. And then you see this flashback and you go, oh shit, she would be.
Yeah.
She would be on his side. Like they had that same mindset of live on the run, screw the gods. Like very, very similar thought process for the two of them. And so it is super interesting to see the two of them interact. It does add empathy and understanding to Luke's character. And the other thing I think is really smart is, and I don't want we'll maybe see the reaction based on this crowd if the internet's going to attack me or not. But Annabeth is a more compelling character than Percy. I love Percy Jackson. I think he's really cool. But Annabeth is a more compelling character. And so the fact that they're diving in more to her story and her perspective of her story, I find it fascinating because I actually am more interested in diving into her lore and her history than I am Percy's, because Percy's just kind of feels like a lot of it I've seen before. It's very much the chosen one type story. And it's great. He's cool, and I'm not besmirching him, but I think I just find Annabeth even more interesting. And Brandon, we get context not just to her relationship with Luke in this episode, but her relationship with Tyson, why she is uneasy with him as well.
Yeah, that's actually one of my favorite things about this episode that I wasn't expecting. Because you have young Annabeth being taken by the Cyclops, and then obviously Thalia comes and rescues her, and just seeing Thalia and the lightning and having that sort of distant rumble of thunder behind her as she's fighting and everything is so cool. It's such a wonderful touch. But seeing how they tied all of that together, like the reason why Annabeth has been so sketchy around Tyson, and the reason why she's been so distrustful of him is because of this bad experience she had with Cyclops in the past. And it's fantastically done. And I just really love the fact that they're utilizing so much care when it comes to these characters, because again, the books are great and the books are what the books are, but I love the fact that Rick Riordan has been able to look at his past work and say, there's a better way to do this. There's a better way to execute this thing that I was trying to do. There's a better way to tell this story. And he's not above saying, yeah, let's make some changes, because if I'm not mistaken, I don't believe this is how we find out why Annabeth is distrustful of Cyclops in the book, but I think it's a much more efficient way of telling this part of her story, and it's also it also makes sense in the context of a visual medium like a television show.
Very well said. Emma, what are your thoughts on how they've expanded on this character through flashbacks, through filling in details of her backstory that we necessarily wouldn't have known in the book at this point. At least.
Yeah, I agree completely with what Brandon said, and I also like I like how they showed it like that instead of just it being kind of like a passing line of her being like, "Oh, like I was attacked by Cyclops." Just showing it and having the audience kind of piece that together, I think was great. I always appreciate that. I thought, yeah, I think it's awesome how they're and I honestly I agree with you, TJ. I really do think Annabeth is a more compelling character. Percy, I love all of them, and honestly, I love Tyson so much, and I just want to give him a hug. I loved him in the book, and I love him in the show. I think they are nailing his character. But yeah, no, I think it's just they're doing an amazing job kind of giving more like depth to her character and how they're telling this. I think how the episode kind of went from the flashbacks to like I just think how they did it was amazing and I was very happy with it.
Jam, feel free to give thoughts on the same question, but I also want to lead into the Clarisse and Percy aspect of it all, where of course Clarisse starts firing on their ship and we get the little combo of teams. It starts bad, but we get the little team combo forming here. And you guys know I love a squad. I love the formation of a squad. That's my favorite trope in television and movies. I don't want a lone wolf. I want a squad. And I want the group together. I don't want them split up. I want them all hanging out and fighting together. Give me my Avengers Assemble moments. But I think even this, we see how Annabeth, like, yeah, it's the big Clarisse versus Percy moment that happens on the ship with the showdown, but it's Annabeth who comes through again. And one part of this I want to mention, like tie in a few different thoughts of like, there's so many aspects of Percy Jackson that it is hard not to compare and contrast for me to Harry Potter. And not because the stories are similar, but because Harry Potter pre-movies just had this untapped fandom that it was a massive book series that was set to explode as soon as those movies came out and it reached a broader audience. And that's so much how I feel about Percy Jackson. When I went to all the events at New York Comic Con before the show started, I was shocked. Like Emma, we were there together. It was shocking how passionate this fandom was.
Yeah, it honestly made me like passionate too. So I was like, I really want to get into this. This is really cool.
Passionate and just huge. And I did not realize the intensely large fandom of Percy Jackson that was just bubbling, waiting for a proper adaptation of this story that they enjoyed.
Yeah.
And now to Brandon's point earlier, I find it so interesting how Rick Riordan, the author, is able to look at this stuff and be like, I could do that better now. I could change that and I could tell this story in a better way than I had before. And it's so interesting to compare to something like Harry Potter, where it does truly seem like J.K. Rowling has no interest in improving and adapting as much as she just has interest in leeching as much money as she can from this exact same thing that she's already done before so that she can continue to fund her shitty anti-trans efforts because she sucks. And it just like, it kind of seems like these are two similar properties in terms of how much people have loved them and I think Percy Jackson has a very similar potential to boom, maybe not to the same level, but to a similar extent as what Harry Potter has done. And I think it's really cool that Rick is able to look at it and go, no, it's not perfect. I can change it. Whereas I feel like that's very different in the Harry Potter side of things. And I also find it interesting how in this, and I think part of it is like the Greek god story aspect of it, but I find it so interesting that these kids are like, let's murder them, let's kill them. Like, it's just, I think of in Harry Potter when Umbridge is taken away by the centaurs, and then she just fucking comes back later in later books and / movies, and it's kind of like, man, why isn't she dead? That is a character that should have been murdered. If there's ever a character that should have been murdered, it was Dolores Umbridge. But no, we can't be having our protagonists kill people like that.
Well, and you know what? I will say in the books, because the movies did a the Harry Potter movies did not do a great job of explaining what happened to Umbridge after the Centaurs take her off. In the books, it's explained a little bit more. And in the books, if you know a little bit about Centaur lore and things like that, there are things implied that maybe certain things may have happened to.
Yeah, I actually saw a little break. That's how that entered my head, as I saw a breakdown of that on Twitter. And I don't think we got to get into it because
that's
maybe
we don't
worse.
have to get into it, but
maybe worse than death. But
it is there. It's in the it's in the books. I'm not telling anybody to go and read those books, but there's some stuff on the page.
And if you are going to read them, you get them from a secondhand bookstore. So you're not supporting her, you're supporting your secondhand bookstore. Same thing with the game. You want to play the game, you go and buy it secondhand from a game store. Yeah. They don't get any profits from the secondhand stuff.
Yeah.
Chris actually got it for free, I think, from some Xbox. Like, he was like, I'm not buying this game, but now that it's available for free, I'm downloading it. So that's another way to.
And what sucks is that the game actually looks really good.
It is really pretty. And we're like, okay, I'm glad that you could play this, but I'm really glad you there's no way we're going to spend money on this and support that lady. So
100%. But I find it like pulling it back into Percy Jackson, and Jan, this is where I'll throw it back to you for your Annabeth thoughts. I found it genuinely hilarious that it's like, yeah, they're already dead. Sure. These people on the ship are already dead, but Annabeth is just going slitting throats of these unexpected ship people who they did nothing wrong. I mean, maybe in their past lives, but right now they're doing nothing wrong.
I think the thing I like the most about this episode with Annabeth that we didn't get in the books, and this kind of ties like everything that you guys have said together, is that Rick has been able to modernize this to where you can also see stereotypes in the show now. So like with Annabeth and how she feels how she feels about the Cyclops, that plays into a lot of the things that she has to deal with by herself with being human. And so I found that fascinating. Her kind of to me, I've always felt like even in the books, you're seeing Annabeth through Percy's perspective, but she still feels like the most compelling character. Maybe Tyson, but besides Tyson, she feels like the most interesting, compelling character, like the one that possibly even besides the protagonist grows the most in the books, So I feel like they're just honing in on that message so much more in this series. And her like slaughtering those dudes, like the dead guys, I feel like that's just so Annabeth. Like it just felt like it was like something she just do. Like, yeah, I mean, I don't care. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so I love that. What I think I'm finding a lot more interesting is what they're doing with Clarisse, and not just not just Percy and Clarisse's relationship, because in the books, it is what it is. Like, she's kind of just like the antagonist that we have to overcome, right? But you see a little bit more of her through in this series, not just through Percy, but through everybody. And her conversations with Annabeth, this episode specifically, it makes me feel for Clarisse a lot. Like a lot. And then to bring it even full circle, then Percy goes to talk to her, and you really have that moment like, yeah, pleasing dad sucks, doesn't it? Like, and it's just like kind of what I mentioned last episode. I really feel like Clarisse, it's bigger to her. I mean, she kind of mentions it here. It's bigger to her than just, I need to please my dad. This is her idol. This is her God. And she wants to emulate everything that he is. And it kind of was like a sour punch almost in the gut when Percy's like, yeah, you want to, one-on-one combat the same way I beat your dad. Like, she's like, in that moment, I could imagine it's like eating at her alive. So I think for me, Clarisse is becoming one of the most interesting characters written in this series. And I think to tie it to Annabeth, it kind of mirrors Annabeth, because Annabeth is already the most interesting character. She's already the most compelling. She's already, so when you have this character that isn't that in the books, and I'm not a purist for the source material either, I feel like it's bringing the essence of both of these characters to life while playing off of each other, and you get to love the best of both worlds. One character where you're not supposed to like, but you are, and one character where you really love, but you're now seeing in a whole new light. I think it's very interesting the way they're doing this, and it really modernizes, like Brandon said, just Rick being modern, like bringing this to a whole new day and age, a whole new group of kids or group of adults here. So I think he's doing a really good job, and the whole team overall is doing a really good job with these characters, paying like respect to these characters.
And when we see it, the way she cares for her crew, whether they're alive or not, it does kind of show you the only thing that makes Clarisse an antagonist is the fact that she is antagonizing our main character. It is not that she is bad. It is not that she is immoral. It is not that she is evil. She's literally just competing against Percy. And that is the only thing that puts her in an antagonizing role in this series. What were your thoughts on the battle, Brandon? And then apologies if I mix up the names, but you, my friend, are crossing the sea of monsters. Are you going through and facing the Scylla, Scylla, or the Charybdis?
So, well, first I want to piggyback off of something Jam said, and I'm really happy you brought up this whole thing with Clarisse and Ares, because knowing how much she idolizes him, and for the reasons she idolizes him, it's even more of a dagger to the heart when you remember in the first season, in that episode that we got with Ares, he basically said that he does not care about his children. And so just knowing that Clarisse is trying to please him and is trying to, be this perfect sort of demigod daughter, and is also looking at him as Jam said, as a god to worship. And meanwhile, he feels nothing for her or any of his other children. It's definitely, it's heartbreaking for her. And I'm very interested in seeing how this show evolves their relationship. But yes, so as far as which monster I would choose, I think I would go Scylla too. And that's only because what do you do against Charybdis? Because you have the Ironclad firing this celestial bronze at Charybdis in the climax of this episode, and it's not doing a thing to him. And so it's like, okay, do I go with Scylla, where at least, some of my crew might be picked off, but there's a good chance that somebody is going to make it through, as opposed to Charybdis, where it's like, nobody is going to make it past that. Nobody is getting past that. So, I think I would do the same thing, but I think I would also have a very hard time sacrificing people and knowingly sending people to be sacrificed so that I can make it through.
We don't trade lives, Captain. Emma, how about you? Which one are you choosing?
Yeah, I probably would have to go Scylla too. Sorry, but those dead guys they gotta go. Like I do feel that, I was like, I also did very much empathize with that choice that Clarisse had to make. And I think that kind of whole dilemma that she was having also humanizes her a lot more too, and makes me a lot more empathetic to her. So I really did. I like how they're kind of developing Clarisse's character too, because like TJ said, really she's not a bad person. It's just she's just kind of antagonizing Percy, and she, fights and stuff like that. But I think kind of showing her struggle through that decision was a very good thing that they added to it. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go Scylla. Sorry to those guys, but someone's got to make it through. We have we have a quest, and this is very important. So, choices have to be made.
Emma literally just said sorry to this man.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Sorry to these men. But
you gotta go.
Getting kicked out of there. That just reminded me of last night that I had like this Christmas get together, and I don't remember what someone was talking about, but somebody brought up the fact that somebody was dating somebody, and it was like, oh, and he was not there. And they said it in the exact cadence of Muppet Christmas Carol, and Tiny Tim, who did not die. And I was just like, it just felt like the perfect time to slide in that reference, and that's what this situation just reminded me of. Jam, Scylla or Charybdis?
Man, I'm gonna be honest with you. I really liked what Clarisse said when she's like, we slay monsters, or we hunt monsters. We don't run away from them. So when I think about this, I feel like I would want to go the road that's hard chosen, because that's the road. The easiest path isn't always the right path. That said, is sacrificing people, whether they're dead or alive, after you promise them Elysium, is that really an easy path? So I feel like there was really no right or wrong choice here. But I personally would probably go with everybody and just choose the one that, what is it, Scylla, that has the six arms, to just sacrifice 6 dead guys. Unfortunately, it's not an easy path. It's not an easy path chosen, because you've made promises that only gods can promise. But I think in this context, that's what I got to go with.
Every time I see the name of Scylla, my brain just goes, Santa! And the Scyther, like, just that SCY, just my brain immediately goes to Scyther, and it makes me want to play a Pokemon game. Brandon, this episode ends on a pretty major cliffhanger. And I was talking about some Percy Jackson with my niece over the week, because she's a massive Percy Jackson fan. And she's saying that it's time to get excited with where this cliffhanger ends, because we're going to have some exciting siren activities occurring in the next while. What are your thoughts on how they ended this episode on a cliffhanger, and theories on what's going to be to come in this adaptation?
Yes, it is time for everybody to get excited, because the stuff that is coming up in this next episode, and I do know that it is episode 5, because there are people who have seen it. I have not, but there are people out there who have seen it. I'm very excited to see how the whole siren scene plays out, because we know that this adaptation is not afraid to make changes and not afraid to dive deeper into these characters. We got that scene from Percy's perspective in the book. And I want to know what Annabeth was thinking and feeling during that scene. And I think this show is going to give us that. So I'm very excited about that. But the climax of this episode as a whole is phenomenal. It's this wonderful mix of practical water effects and VFX, and it's easily the biggest scale thing that this show has ever attempted, and they knocked it out of the park. The tension that they crafted with Scylla up on the cliffs, and you can barely see her, but she's kind of making her way across, and then you got Charybdis, and I love the fact that they made this whirlpool kind of glowing, this sort of weird bluish glow. I mean, they knocked it out of the park. I was blown away, and the thing about this is that if this is what a show on Disney Plus was able to do with Scylla and Charybdis, let's not forget that next year there is a movie coming out that is also going to feature Scylla and Charybdis, and that movie is going to be directed by Christopher Nolan, and I cannot wait to see what Christopher Nolan does with those two monsters. I'm so excited.
I have a fear.
Uh-oh.
I have a fear with the Odyssey, man. I've been telling all my friends, some of us at Agents of Fandom, my biggest fear is we know how much Christopher Nolan does not like CGI, despises it. My biggest fear is in the Odyssey is we're gonna get the book type of shown things, and what I mean by that is, when we're supposed to see the Kraken and stuff, it won't be the Kraken. It'll be lightning grows across the sky and it lights up the ocean, and we see the shadow underneath of the Kraken. And then it pans to the next scene and we hear about the story of how the Kraken destroys the boat. Things like that is what I'm fearful of when it comes to the Odyssey. With that said, we did see the Cyclops in the trailer, so I don't want to.
This is Christopher Nolan we're talking about. He's going to go find a Kraken.
Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of, actually. I'm afraid he's actually going to create Scylla and Charybdis. Like, I'm more afraid, because I was afraid he was actually going to set off an atomic bomb. Like, I'm thinking he's going like full scale. Like, he's gonna find these creatures. So that's my fear.
We're gonna have the Ogopogo. We're gonna have the Loch Ness Monster. They're gonna be in this movie doing damage.
Yeah.
You're gonna see in the credits Loch Ness Monster as himself in the movie.
Kraken as himself.
Jam, what are your thoughts on the cliffhanger and the closing to this episode?
I think it was, like Brandon said, some of the best, if not the best thing visually they've done so far. The scale of it, I mean, seeing the ship being destroyed that way, and then just Percy is like sitting on top or standing on top of the tip of, I was like, oh, this is great. It really felt for me like a lot of anime that I watched. It almost felt like Avatar: The Last Airbender doing some wind stuff, like airbending and water mixture, like Katara and Aang are doing a little bit of a combo move.
Percy is basically a waterbender.
Percy is basically, I mean, when he's on top of the boat and he's like, I was loving it. I'm all for it. You mentioned, Brandon, seeing Scylla.
Avatar Aang will return as the giant sea monster kaiju from season 1 in Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey.
I'm not mad at that, you know.
Season 1, season 2, season 1.
In the book, I don't even think they show Scylla at all, right? I don't think you even see that like little glimpse of her. I was kind of happy that we got that little, because I feel like in things like that you don't really see stuff. So that was something I was really happy about. Like Brandon mentioned, actually getting to see the glowing water and coming like what is it called again? Charybdis. Yeah, he was coming out of it was coming out of the water. You get to see its mouth open. You know what I mean? Like all of that to me is some of the stuff that I love about fictional mythology, things like that. I want to see these creatures. Show me. Don't just tell me. Show it to me. And so the fact that Disney actually, I was really happy. I mean, we got to see a lot of it last season, so I would assume going into this season we would see it more. But getting to see getting to see the monsters in the sea during the Sea of Monsters is really what makes me happy. I think, to be quite honest, Annabeth, Leah, I keep forgetting her middle name, but Leah Jeffries, her acting in this episode is specifically in that scene, like that trauma scene, we're in an action sequence. It's just, she keeps getting better, man. And it makes me hone down that fan cast, me and you got TJ, Bumblebee, Starfire, throw her in the Titans, man. Like, she's just too good to not be in everything. Like, I need to see her in everything at this point. That was really my biggest takeaway, was seeing her get carried away. And it's like, just the look on her, like, she doesn't have to have too many lines. It's her facial mannerisms, her face, like her expressions. It's just, and so in that moment, to me, it was like my biggest highlight. But also, I don't know, forgive me because I don't remember the lady's name, the young girl's name that plays Clarisse, but her as well. Like, Percy was in the moment. He's Percy. He's the hero. He's just looking strong, trying to figure out what, but those two, right, I'm like, yo, everything, put them in everything. So that was my biggest takeaway, honestly.
Dior Goodjohn as Clarisse, it's my perspective on her character changed so heavily when I realized that, like, the first bits we were getting of Clarisse was Percy's view of Clarisse, and it was very surface level, bully, better than you, cooler than you, I'm just a teenager who doesn't like you, very surface level. And then and I kind of thought that was because of the performance, and I didn't realize, no, that wasn't the performance, that was the performance, but it was on purpose, because that was Percy's perspective. And now we are seeing Clarisse be Clarisse and getting to see so much more depth and exploration into the character that Dior Goodjohn is doing such a good job of portraying. And it made me realize, oh no, this wasn't a surface level performance. This was a deep performance, because she was performing surface level for a scene, because it was Percy's perspective that we were getting on. That was a next level performance. And then just seeing her really open up into the character afterwards, I thought was really, really incredible. Emma, final thoughts on Percy Jackson and the Olympians, season 2, episode 4.
Yeah, I echo everything everyone has said. I mean, I think the casting in the show is just like impeccable. Like, I see these people as these characters now. And I think they just continue to get better and better. But I absolutely love this. I realized I missed this show, like, coming out every week. So I'm really happy to have that right now. I love it so much. I cannot wait to see the stuff that comes up in the rest of the book portrayed. As Brandon said, the Sirens thing, and then some more stuff later will be very fun. So I'm excited.
Emma, where can the people find you on socials if you want to give it out? And then, I mean, if you got anything exciting going on in your life, feel free to share. Share whatever you like. It's your time. The soapbox is yours.
Perfect. So now that we have time, no, I'm just kidding. So you can find me at if you're watching on YouTube, it's easier because my Twitter username, and I'm not calling it X, it is Twitter. Refuse. My username is right here on the screen. _EMMINEM. I'm on Instagram at Emma Dorris with 2 R's _. And yeah, honestly, not too much exciting going on, which is fine. I'm okay with that. Sometimes less excitement is better. I've just been all about relaxing and enjoying my winter break off of work and building some Legos. Actually, one very exciting thing, Lego related. I finally have bought myself the Daily Bugle Lego before it retired, like right before. There's nothing like a little deadline to get me to finally say, just pull the trigger on something. So I am a little bit intimidated to start building it, but once I do, I'm just very excited to see how it comes out. Yeah, that's about it. But hit me up for Percy Jackson stuff. I'm honestly probably going to be tweeting about just various shows and unfortunately the Ravens, but I am very excited about the Orioles next season. So all about baseball right now. Yeah, that's kind of it.
Fuck the Orioles, fuck Pete Alonso, and go Blue Jays, go.
Boo.
I will say, if you do want, it's going to be fun this year, Emma.
It's going to be
the
really
Blue
fun.
Jays and Orioles keep getting better, and the Red Sox
Yes.
and Yankees keep doing nothing.
Yes, I'm happy about that at least.
I joke about fuck the Orioles, but because we're going to be competing for the division.
Yeah.
But I like them a hell of a lot better than the Yankees or the Red Sox. I think we share
Same with
that
the
in
Blue
common.
Jays.
It's a friendly rivalry as opposed
Exactly.
to those other teams in the division.
Those other teams I genuinely hate, but I have respect for the Blue Jays, so we always have that.
Exactly.
But I still want to win.
A mutual respect there.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I will say, if you want more Emma on the podcast, stay tuned because it won't be very long. It's going to be a big month of March because we're going to have some Daredevil Born Again. We're going to have some Project Hail Mary, which we will, of course, be covering here on the podcast. And I will have to make sure we get Emma back for that one as well. I'm going to need to make sure I get the return of Adam for Project Hail Mary as well. Adam hasn't been on the podcast in a long time, but we're going to have to make sure we lock in a day that works for his schedule for that one because I know he is mega excited.
We got to assemble the club crew for that.
Exactly. Gotta get them all together. I'll bounce. I'll actually let Adam host it, and then you guys can do it together because I wasn't part of the book club. But I am very excited for that movie to come out. Brandon, where can the people find you on socials? Where can they find your work?
So you can find me on Twitter at indigo_15. Hang on.
It's a very popular guy. What can I say?
Yeah, there we go. Turn that off. All right. I'm at indigo_15 on Twitter. I'm at the Indigo Chronicles at Indigo Chronicles on Threads and Instagram. And you can find my work at agentsoffandom.com. I have all 4 reviews of these Percy Jackson episodes up there, as well as a recap of episode 1. And you can also find me doing a little bit of entertainment journalism over at The Direct.
Check out Brandon's stuff, and it'll be cool if we get screeners for the rest of the season over the next week. I feel like that's what they did for season 1.
Give them to me, please.
Yeah,
send them to Brandon.
I feel like that's what they did for season 1 was they sent the first half and then they sent the second half like right before episode 5 dropped. So that'd be pretty cool. Jam, how about you? Where can they find you on socials? Where can they find your pod? Where can they find your Reddit?
I am here everywhere. I'm here, there, a little bit everywhere. Jam Session on all socials. Just replace the E with an X. On YouTube is where you will find my podcast. Still Jam Session. You will find it under the Jam Pod. But I'm going to have some new things coming for the new year, which also is going to be a part of a little bit of a rebrand change. So it will no longer be called the Jam Pod. I'm just going to simplify it, maybe make it sound a little bit more professional. It will be called Journey Across Media. So come journey across media with me on my podcast. We're going to talk about a bunch of nerd stuff. I've had TJ on before. I'm trying to get Brandon on. for us to talk about some nerd stuff that we both love. So yeah, you could also check out my writing, which I got my end of the year recap for anime coming for the end of the year here with us at the Agents of Fandom.
I think Jam just needs to just cover his chest at this point, because that thing is not staying.
Sticky note is not working as well
Not
as
working.
originally hoped. Look, we have a big next week coming. It's going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you're hitting the like button on this video, hit that notification bell, subscribe to the Agents Fandom wherever you get your pods and on YouTube, because we got a lot of exciting stuff. On Monday, starting straight on Monday, every day next week, we're going to have something. On Monday, Stranger Things, Season 5, Volume 2. We're going to break down those 3 episodes. We're going to deep dive, Easter eggs, theories, all of it. It's going to be a long show. It's going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you tune in for that one. Tuesday, December 30th, year-end draft. Assuming everything goes well, planning-wise for that one, we've had kind of a wonderful group lately of Damon's doing a lot of co-hosting. Sean's doing a lot of co-hosting for some different shows. Jam's been doing a lot of co-hosting for these different shows. 4 of us are going to get together. We're going to draft our favorite projects from 2025. Then Wednesday, we're not done. We're still going. Wednesday, Pluribus. We're going to be talking about the Pluribus season finale, now streaming on Apple TV. Didn't go the way I thought it was going to go. But we're going to talk about that on Wednesday. Thursday, Comic Corner, as per usual. They were on Friday this week. It was Christmas Day on Thursday, so we had a little bit of adjustment. But Comic Corner will be back next week as well, talking about the absolute DC universe and all the latest in comics. Friday, Percy Jackson fans, this is where you get excited. I've been looking forward to this episode since before the season started. We are having, I'm actually not sure if we're having both of the co-hosts from the Seaweed Brain Podcast, but I know for sure we will have Erica Ito of the Seaweed Brain Podcast joining us for episode 5. We got to meet, Emma and I got to meet Erica in New York Comic Con a couple of years ago. She is absolutely wonderful. And I mean, I want to toot our own horn. I think we're doing a pretty good job, but in terms of a Percy Jackson podcast, I don't think you can be doing it better than the Seaweed Brain Podcast. So make sure you check them out and you stay tuned, because they will be joining us next week to talk about episode 5. And that'll do it for this week. We, of course, have our Avatar Fire and Ash interviews with James Cameron, Stephen Lang up on YouTube, wherever you get your pods, and on socials at Agents Fandom on TikTok and Twitter, Agents of Fandom everywhere else. Thank you so much for tuning in today, everyone, and joining us on behalf of myself, Brandon, Jam, and Emma. We will see you next time